What's up, Ohio? Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Broulis Beat Report. I am your host, Nick Broulis. This edition of the Broulis Beat Report is brought to you by Cafe 80s. If you are interested in checking out a Cafe 80s show and you love 80s music, you will definitely want to check out a Cafe 80s show. There are 3 ways to follow them. Go to facebook.com and type in The Cafe 80s and like their fan page. Also, go to thecafe80s.net, that's their actual website, and don't forget to download that Bands in Town app. That way you can get email notifications letting you know when they're going to be at a venue near you. Well, the Cavaliers lost to what I would consider a below 500 team, although their record does not indicate that at 3-2, last night in Brooklyn against the Nets. Well, I got a couple pointers here on a piece of paper that remind me of exactly what I wanted to talk to you about. But let me just say this. First off, there's one big main reason as to why the Cleveland Cavaliers should actually go out of their way to beat the Brooklyn Nets every time they play them this year. Can you take a guess why? Well, you can give up now because I'm going to tell you why. The number one thing, and this goes back to the Kyrie Irving trade. The Cavs own the Brooklyn Nets first round pick next year in the draft, in next summer's draft. Why wouldn't you try to continuously improve that number one draft pick, that first round draft pick? It is beyond me. I'd be going out there and saying, look, they got a draft pick for next year. So by losing to the Nets, and if they continue to somehow win a few games that we don't expect them to, that draft pick, if the Cavs try and trade it, guess what happens to it? It's devalued. And if they keep it, that draft pick continues to fall. It keeps falling down as opposed to being a high draft pick. So the Cavs might want to keep that in mind every time they play the Nets. So here's some things I wanted to bring you up as remains to the Cavs. First off, they are 15th in the NBA in points per game allowed at 105. That must come down. You're middle of the pack. Number 2, they average 107 points a game. So that's a +2 difference in the points per game category. That's not good. The opponent is shooting 39% from 3-point range. Okay? Now the Cavs have to remember 2 things here. First off, they do not have the 3-point shooting that they did last year. And number 2, if you are continuously not closing out on a 3-point shooter, it's already out. The memo on the Cavs is already out. You can get the 3-point shot because guess what? You want to know how you bring 3-point shooting down in terms of the percentage for your opponents? That takes effort. And the Cavaliers are not showing effort on the defensive end, especially when you're giving up 105 points a game. Cavaliers ranked 19th in the NBA in turnovers with 16 a game. That's actually not as bad as what I thought it was until I looked up the stats. Again, effort. Look, I get it. I'm giving the Cavs a little bit of slack when it comes to the players, okay? They've got like 7 or 8 new players on the team, but guess what? They can all show better effort. It's not that difficult. They get there, the oldest team in the NBA, and guess who, to my shock, is the second oldest team in the NBA? The Golden State Warriors. I was shocked when I found out about that. But guess what? You still have to show effort on the defensive end, okay? That's what defense comes down to, is effort, all right? I don't expect the Cavs to be playing at the top of their game right now, but there's a certain NBA beat reporter that said, you need to start developing good habits at both ends of the floor early in the season, or it's going to come back to haunt you near the end of the season, which is exactly what happened with the Cavs last year. Number 2, the first 2 games, both against Boston and Milwaukee, the Cavs came out and played well in the first quarter. Ever since then, they've come out and they've gotten their butts handed to them in the first quarter. And guess what? It came back to haunt them against the Orlando Magic. It almost came back to haunt them against Chicago. And it haunted them again last night when they lost to the Brooklyn Nets. The other thing I wanted to talk about, two things. Why did the Cavaliers keep Jose Calderon over Richard Jefferson is beyond me. The way that I looked at it is that the Cavs needed, they should have left Jose Calderon, left him out to pasture, so to speak, because he's doing nothing for this team. At least you could have done was brought RJ off of the bench. And here's the other thing that I see. Okay, Derrick Rose is hurt. Okay, Isaiah Thomas is not healthy yet. You still put LeBron at the point guard, and he's going to be just as effective. Okay? So, why on earth they kept Jose Calderon is beyond me. And here's the last point that I want to make, and I don't like it, but because of injuries, I think this is why it's going on. LeBron James is averaging the second most amount of minutes played per game right now in the NBA at 37. Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek freak out of Milwaukee, is the only one that's averaging more points per game in the NBA. At some point, that has got to come down to around 30 to 31 a game. You cannot continue to play LeBron James at 35 plus points, 35 minutes a game or more. You just can't, especially with the fact that he's got the ankle problem still. So, again, effort. I get the Cavs have got to continue to work these new guys in, so I'm giving them some slack there. But they got to play better effort, and they've got to start developing better habits, both offensively and defensively, on the court now, so that they are into those habits come March, April, May, and maybe even June, if they're lucky and fortunate enough to make it back to the NBA Finals again. Now, I also want to throw this out there before I end this edition of the Broulis Beat Report. I am pretty much the guy that runs the show for the most part on fandom.com. So again, I am throwing this out there to all of you that are watching this. I am looking for Ohio State writers for both basketball and football. I am looking for Cleveland Indian writers. I am looking for Cleveland Cavalier writers and Cleveland Brown writers. And if you are a person that likes to talk about health and fitness, that's fine too. But if you want to talk sports, you need to be unbiased, and it has to be clean talk, okay? If you're interested, get in touch with me and let me know that you are interested. That does it for this edition of the Broulis Beat Report, and until next time, have a good one, everybody.